You are sitting at your desk. Again. The cursor blinks on an empty page. Your coffee has gone cold. There is a knot between your shoulder blades that has been there so long you have forgotten what ease feels like. You tell yourself you will start creating as soon as you finish checking your inbox, as soon as you clear your to-do list, as soon as you feel ready. But ready never comes. Instead, there is this low hum of exhaustion beneath everything, and a voice that whispers, you are not producing enough, not achieving enough, not enough. So you push harder, you work faster, you stack another commitment onto the pile, and somewhere in all that striving, the thing you once loved, the thing that made you come alive, has become another task to optimize, another performance to perfect. If that lands, I need you to hear this. You are not lazy. You are not uncommitted. You are not broken. What you are experiencing is what I call creative dissociation. It is what happens when your nervous system learns that rest is dangerous and flow is a luxury you cannot afford. It is the moment your inner relationship fractures, when the voice inside your head stops being a guide and becomes a relentless taskmaster. And here is what most people miss. You cannot hustle your way back to flow, because flow is not something you achieve. It is something you allow. And allowing requires you to trust yourself again. In my 22 years working with high achievers who feel creatively blocked, I have seen this pattern repeat itself in 1,000 different forms. Someone sits across from me, brilliant, capable, accomplished, and they say the same thing. I used to love this. I used to get lost in my work for hours. Now it feels like dragging myself through glass. And when I ask them when it changed, they always pinpoint the same moment. It was when creating stopped being play and became productivity. When their inner world became a boardroom where every idea had to justify its existence before it was allowed to breathe. That shift did not happen because they became less talented or less passionate. It happened because their nervous system adapted to a world that only valued output. And in that adaptation, something essential got severed. The connection between effort and joy. The trust that they were allowed to explore without a guaranteed result. The permission to be human instead of a productivity machine. Here is what I mean. Your brain has two distinct modes when it comes to creative work. There is the executive mode, the one that plans, organizes, critiques, measures. It is the voice that says, is this good enough? Will this work? What if I fail? It is necessary. It helps you refine and execute, but it is not where creation lives. Creation lives in what neuroscientists call the default mode network. It is the state your brain enters when it wanders, when it connects seemingly unrelated ideas, when it plays. This is the space where innovation happens, where original thought emerges, where you stop performing and start discovering. But here is the catch. You cannot access that state when your nervous system is stuck in threat mode. And for most of you, hustle culture has taught your body that rest is a threat, that slowness is failure, that if you are not producing, you are not valuable. So your system stays locked in hypervigilance. Your executive brain never shuts off. And the part of you that knows how to create, the part that trusts and explores and plays, stays buried under a mountain of should. This is not about time management. It is not about finding the right productivity hack or optimizing your morning routine. This is about something far deeper. It is about how you treat yourself when no one is watching, how you speak to yourself when the work is hard, whether you are allowed to create something imperfect, something messy, something that serves no purpose except that it wanted to exist. Because here is the truth that no one tells you. Your inner critic is not protecting you from failure. It is protecting you from vulnerability. It learned a long time ago that if you stay small, if you never risk being seen, you cannot be rejected. So it convinced you that the only safe version of creativity is the one that has already been approved, the one that fits neatly into a plan, the one that guarantees success before you even begin. And in doing so, it killed the very thing that made you want to create in the first place. The uncertainty, the discovery, the aliveness that comes from not knowing where something will lead. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in your actual life. You have an idea, a spark, something that excites you, and immediately, before you even finish the thought, your inner critic steps in. It asks, but what is the point? Who is this for? How will you monetize it? What if it is not original? And just like that, the spark dies. You tell yourself you will come back to it later, when you have more time, more clarity, more proof that it is worth pursuing. But later never comes. Because the truth is, your inner critic is not waiting for the right time. It is waiting for you to become someone else. Someone who does not need to take risks. Someone who already has all the answers. Someone who does not feel. And so, you stay stuck. Not because you lack ideas, not because you lack talent, but because you have internalized a voice that treats your creativity like a business proposal. That demands a return on investment before you are allowed to explore. That tells you rest is laziness and play is indulgence, and anything that does not produce measurable results is a waste of time. And the saddest part? You do not even realize you are doing it. You think this is discipline. You think this is what it takes to succeed. But what you are actually doing is abandoning yourself. You are treating your inner world like an employee you do not trust, and no one creates anything meaningful from that place. Want to know why? Because your nervous system cannot tell the difference between external rejection and internal rejection. When your inner critic attacks you, your body responds the same way it would if someone else attacked you. Your heart rate increases, your breathing shallows, your system floods with cortisol. And in that state, your brain prioritizes survival, not creation. It shuts down the parts of you that are curious, playful, exploratory. It locks you into a narrow, defensive mode where the only goal is to prove your worth, to produce evidence that you deserve to exist. And so you keep pushing, you keep hustling, you keep telling yourself that if you just work harder, if you just do more, eventually you will feel safe enough to slow down. But it never works, because safety does not come from more output. It comes from self-loyalty, from learning to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, from giving yourself permission to create without a guarantee, from trusting that you are allowed to explore something simply because it calls to you, not because it will make you money or make you impressive or make you enough. This is not separate from your creative block. This is your creative block, the war you are waging with yourself, the refusal to let yourself be messy or uncertain or human, the belief that you have to earn the right to create. And until you address that, until you rebuild the relationship between the part of you that demands and the part of you that dreams, no amount of discipline or strategy or hustle will bring back your flow. I know that is a lot to sit with, but here is the good news. Your nervous system is adaptive, which means the same way it learned that rest is dangerous, it can relearn that rest is necessary. The same way it learned to treat creativity like a performance, it can relearn that creativity is play. And it starts with one small, daily act of loyalty to yourself. Tonight, before you go to bed, I want you to try something. Find somewhere quiet. Sit down with a pen and paper, not your phone, not your laptop, something you can hold. Place one hand on your heart, feel it beating. And then ask yourself this question, out loud if you can. What wanted to be created today that I did not allow? Do not filter, do not critique, just let whatever answer comes, come. Maybe it is a conversation you avoided. Maybe it is a drawing you thought about but dismissed. And maybe it is 10 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. Write it down, and then say this out loud to yourself. That mattered. That impulse mattered. And tomorrow, I will make space for one thing that wants to exist without having to justify itself. Do this every night for a week, not as another task on your list, but as an act of repair, as a way of telling the part of you that has been silenced that it is allowed to speak again. What this does is interrupt the automatic dismissal, the reflex that treats your Desires, like distractions, it trains your nervous system to notice the difference between what you think you should want and what you actually want. And over time, that gap closes. You stop performing creativity and start experiencing it. You stop treating your inner world like a project to manage and start treating it like a conversation worth having. Because here is what I need you to understand. You are not put on this earth to be a productivity machine. You were not designed to optimize every moment and monetize every impulse and prove your worth through relentless output. You were designed to create, to explore, to be moved by something and follow it without knowing where it leads. That is not a luxury. That is not something you get to do once you have earned it. That is the entire point. And the only thing standing between you and your flow is the belief that you have to deserve it, that you have to be perfect before you are allowed to be creative, that you have to silence the part of you that wants to play because play is not serious enough. But that part of you, that playful, messy, uncertain part, that is not a distraction from your real work. That is your real work, and it is waiting for you to come back. So here is your invitation. Not to hustle harder, not to find the perfect morning routine or the right productivity system, but to rebuild your relationship with yourself, to stop treating your creativity like a performance and start treating it like a conversation, to give yourself permission to create something that serves no purpose except that it wanted to exist, to trust that you do not have to be impressive to be worthy, that you do not have to produce to be valuable, that you are allowed to rest, to wander, to explore, to fail, to try again. Not because you have earned it, but because you are human. And humans are not machines. We are not meant to run on empty. We are meant to be nourished by the very things we create. So if this resonates, if you have spent years pushing yourself into exhaustion while wondering why the joy left, hit subscribe. Not because I need your view, but because you deserve a reminder that your worth is not tied to your output, that your creativity does not have to justify itself, and that the world does not need another person performing perfection. It needs the real you, the messy, uncertain, beautifully human version of you who creates because it feels alive, not because it looks impressive. Welcome home.